So, without further ado, let's get into the code. So I'm just going to hit this button here. Hopefully this will work. Okay, so this is the GitHub repository for the coding challenges. I've already put the January one up. This is the January challenge. The January challenge I will announce at the end of the stream, I think. I'll go through it because there's a little bit, it's quite involved. It's JavaScript, CSS, HTML, PHP, and there's actually XML in there too, and JSON and other good things. So I will go through those at the end. But this is the December Code Challenge. This is the December Code Challenge, and the reason why we're doing it in January is because, of course, we had Christmas in the way, Christmas and New Year in the way. In fact, let me go to the code now. Let me go to the actual browser. So this is the Code Challenges website. I'll put that into the chat here. Code, if I can find the actual command. But this is the challenge. This is the page I'm on. Okay, so the December 2019 Code Challenges. There was 2 levels. The first one was the Happy New Year card. So this is creating a HTML page that says Happy New Year from your username. Bonus points if you make it look pretty. Use a Christmassy font. And then level 2, make it sparkle. Add an image border, add some fireworks. Bonus points if you don't use JavaScript. So I'm just going to take a slurp of my tea, and then what we'll do is we'll take a look. It's actually coffee. This is actually coffee. I'll try not to get too wired. Just reading the comments from King Melon Live. Yeah, I think what happened, buddy, is that you saw the word fireworks and went, right, okay. And took it in a different direction, which is perfectly fine. This is it's perfectly cool. No worries at all. Okay, so there was 2 challenges, King Melon Live, which is Wayne16, and I'm going to completely butcher this username, but it's An0, and we were talking, King Melon Live was talking with me privately the other evening about the challenge, and he has given me the thumbs up to do a code review, which is awesome. I couldn't get hold of the other challenger, so I shan't be showing that on the stream and 0 because I didn't get permission to show it on live, so I won't be doing that. So I'll be showing King Melon live, but to be honest, whoo, is this awesome. They're both, or I should say, they're both incredible. Even though I won't show Ant0 one, I just want to say that was really, really good. In fact, that followed the brief to the letter. There was a Christmassy font, there was fireworks, and it used CSS, not JavaScript. So massive thumbs up, massive respect for doing that. Let's take a look at this one then. Hey, King Melon Live. Let's take a look. In fact, I've already got it here, haven't I? There we go. So this is. I'll put this in the chat. This is the King Melon Live's Wayne16's Git repository here. Created a firework launcher to kickstart off 2020 New Year. Small little Easter egg. Let me know if you can find it. Reading the source code equals cheating. Right. So I have found the Easter egg, and I did it before I saw honest truth. I saw the Easter egg before I actually read the code. I will show you the I will show you the actual output of this, and then I'll show you go through the code. Because the output is incredible. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive over to the terminal here and just make sure that's all running. So if I did an ls on here, we should see this is the repository, and if I did a git pull, because I pulled this down yesterday, let me just make sure that I've got all the bits and pieces. That's all good, up to date. So without further ado, we're going to do an open of index.xhtml because this is the this is it. I should really read the README, to be honest. Create a firework launcher to kickstart off 2020 new year. Small little Easter egg. Let me know if you can find it. Reading the source code equals cheating, so we won't read that yet. Have fun. To simply open simply open XML index.xml. Index.html, sorry. Please report any bugs you may find. Left click to shoot fireworks. Left click to shoot the fireworks. Move the mouse to aim. Pixel art was done in Marmoset hexels. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of Marmoset hexels, but that's awesome. Right, let's go and run it. So I'm going to do open of index.html. Okay, check this out. Okay, so all right, before we get too carried away, let's just take a look at the brief. All right, let's just go through the brief. And this is, look at that. Look at that. Let's just take a look at the brief. So the brief said, create a HTML page that says Happy New Year from the username. Yeah. Okay. Create a Christmassy font. Well, there is a Christmassy font when the plane goes by, and I think the plane will go by again soon. If not, I'll just refresh the page here. I'll refresh. There we go. So we got the 2020. So that's a Christmassy font, I say. I kind of, guess I'll give you that. Bonus points if you make it look pretty. Well, you've created a whole scene here. So this is amazing. This is cool. And then, okay, make it sparkle. Well, you've made it not only sparkle, but you've made it twinkle. I mean, look at this. The lights are moving, floating about. That is amazing. So hats off to you there. I'm not sure what's going on with the Nightbot there, King Melon. I don't know what's going on there. I do apologize if it's got too much of a tight. Said 4 messages were deleted by the moderator. I'm assuming these are emojis, which is a bit rubbish. Okay, right. Next one down here. Add an image border. Add an image border. So, I'm not sure I can give you that because there is a border of such, although, well, no, to be honest, there isn't one, to be honest. I can't do that. I just try putting fireworks in all caps. All right. And then this one here, add fireworks. So, yes, there is fireworks, and I'll show you that in a minute. There's a lot of fireworks. In fact, I tried to crash my machine yesterday. It didn't work. I couldn't crash it. The amount of fireworks I was putting through. But awesome. Bonus points if you don't use JavaScript. So this does use JavaScript, so I can't give you those bonus points. But let's just have a play, because literally this is a game you play. Right. On your marks, get set. Get ready for the fireworks. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Awesome. This is just incredible. This is so cool. Look at this. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. And I really like the duck. Is that a mallard? Is that a duck? But look, it fires in the direction that your arrow is. This is so cool. Is that going to hit it? No. Right. So the Easter egg, if I can get to it, I don't think I can. I'm going to have to wait for the thing to go by, but I'll do it. It's just so cool. You've gone and taken this to a completely different level. Right. Okay, so I've got to try and fire it before. Oh, no. So I did it last time where I shot the plane down and I was shooting it before, like I was aiming before the aircraft passed through. So let's try it again, shall we? I can't shoot the duck. I've tried many a times. Right, if I just fire in that corner, is that going to get it? Come on, get it. There must be like a trick or a knack to this. But notice that the fireworks just, there's no limit to the amount of fireworks that one can fire here. And I love the way that they bounce and they collide. It's just done in such a good way. Come on, I want to shoot this down. I want to shoot this down. There we go. Shot it down. I shot the aircraft down. And the aircraft drops at various points. I'm going to refresh the page. I'm going to try and do it again. Because I want really the aircraft to drop in screen if I can. Come on. Right, refresh it again. Just to start again. Come on. There we go. Okay, can you see that's dropped down? Okay, so there's a lot of work involved with this. A lot of work has gone involved into this. We've got an explosion. We've got the thing going, rotating. You've got collision detection. You've got so much going on here. And also, look at that. Just look at the detail. When you move it left and right, it fades back and forth. It's really, I'm absolutely blown away by this. And look, I'll wait for those to dissipate. Right, so I'm going to fire one over here, right in the top left-hand corner. Boom. Right, see that travels, and then it goes bang. I'm going to fire one very close to the cannon. Boom. So it follows the path. Boom, boom. So I'm guessing, and look, some are being, that's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to show. Some are exploding right at the start. Right, some are exploding. So there's some sort of intelligence to know how far or how quickly you've pressed the button to know when to explode. Can you see? So they exploded before the ones at the top here. Yeah, brilliant. And can you see also look. There's smoke. I've just noticed that smoke coming off. So yeah. I mean, I could play with this for hours. It's brilliant. It really is good. I've got some ideas as to what you might want to do, like to push this further, because I really think that this is a start of something. But let's talk about the code. Let's go to the code. So I've pulled it out here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just bring this down here. I'm going to open up the. I'm going to do a. I'm going to open it in the thing. That's not the thing, is it? This is the thing. File open. And I put it in code. I put it in challenges in 2019 in December, and this is the one here, New Year's one, and we'll put it in a new window. Okay, so this is the code. So there's not a crazy amount to this. The first thing that comes to my mind is the fact that it doesn't use, it doesn't use node modules. There's nothing in here that there's no like external libraries. So this blows me away. There's no external libraries. If you think, how many lines of code do you think that takes to actually do, right? If you think of, you've got collision detection, you've got explosions, you've got movement of the mouse, you've got on-click events, you've got things moving left and right. There's loads, right? There's loads and loads and loads. So I thought that this would be in the thousands of lines of code. Let me tell you, the index.html is 12 lines of code. It is a canvas, and then there's a warning here about the browser. Fine. Okay. The intelligence is done in app.js. Scroll to the bottom. This is 561 lines of code. 560 lines of code to do all of that. So there's been, in my opinion, there's been a lot of addressing the code and making it as efficient as possible. Otherwise, I would have thought that this would have been thousands of lines to do that. So, already this is fantastic. I'll get into the app.js in a minute. I'll go through that in just a second. Let's take a look. We've got assets here. So we've got these are the assets. So you've got the cannon. So these are image sprites. So you can see here that how the cannon fires. So not only has there been code, there's been images that have been created and built for this. And then you have the base of the cannon. Then you have different skin, the cannon skin. You have the duck So this is the animation of the duck. Then you've got the scenery, the plane exploding. I mean, you have to think. You have to think about how this explodes. And this was only done in a few, in literally under a second. It went down, right? And these are the images that it had to run through. Then you've got so first of all, this is how it explodes, and then after that, it goes into the plain CP, I guess, or something else. Maybe there's two ways of exploding. And then here is the smoke, as I showed you earlier. So it's really, really good, really, really good. I'm a monster for burning down the plane. I've shot the plane down. Okay. So King Melon has mentioned that some of these assets are unused. Okay, that's cool. No worries. And then in the CSS here, in the styles.css, this is it. You've got 10 lines of CSS here, and this is mostly for tidying up the page, right? Let's just have a little play. Let's just see. So if I scroll it this way, you can see that there is a little bit of squishiness going on here with the tree. The tree kind of expands and contracts. Also, it does this funky white thing. But I have to be honest that that really, if you're playing this kind of stuff, you're not going to be doing that with the browser. To be honest, that's the last thing you're going to be worried about, because really these kind of things, they have a sort of a fixed sort of dimension. So I wouldn't worry about that at all. I wouldn't worry about the flickering either. It's a nice to have. All right, so let's go through the app.js here. So as I mentioned earlier, King Melon asked me to go through this, and I'm doing so. So on line 1, we've got the canvas set up. That's cool. And then we have CTX. Okay, so we've got heights and widths being defined here. Okay. Then we've got on here, we've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got 6 images that are being defined here. Now, I would, if there's these kind of things, what I would do is probably make these more sort of polymorphic, in the sense of create some sort of factory that builds these things, or define all of them on a single line, because they are all images. They're all the same. They're just different variable names, essentially. You could even get away with perhaps putting these in an array, or you could even get away with putting this in a JSON object. And then so I'm going to hack this up now. So for instance, you could do something like, and we'll talk about JSON objects soon. So you could do like duck, what was it, duck img, and then that's a new sort of image, and then all of that kind of stuff. And then what you would do is you would then evaluate that to a variable called images. So it would be like that, right? So then what you would do is then you would do images dot, and I've spelled images wrong, images dot duck, right? And then that would put out the duck. Just a different way of doing it. It's just, it just tidies it up a little bit, I think. But that's all good. Same with this kind of stuff. You've got the SRCs here. It basically, wherever I see like duplications of attributes being assigned, this could be done in perhaps some sort of configuration. So you could, if you wanted to change this up on the fly, and you can see here that you've got heights and all the other things, plus colors and bits and pieces. This really, and I haven't gone through all the code yet, but this really, I believe, is configuration. So you could, if you wanted to, you could create a JSON configuration file, or just create it in JavaScript here and assign it a variable, where you've got different colors and you've got your images and stuff like that. And then maybe you could do something like, you know, let's just bring this up here. So you would have something like var config, and to be honest, again, it's because it's config, it would be constant, but whatever. Let's just set this as a let config like this equals blah blah blah, and then you would in here you would have, say, colors, and then you would have your array of colors in here, and then, you know, and then have this sort of outside of the actual application, and also you would have an array of images as well, right? So they would be up those things, and then you would have like the image objects, and then what you can do once you've got the configuration and you've got it outside of this application, so perhaps there's a folder in here called config or what have you, or file called config, you can then inject that into it, and then you can change those on the fly. I mean, that would work. Another thing you could do, I guess, in the same sort of vein as the config, is you could set this up as a JavaScript module, and you could inject the config into the module. So if this was a class, so if this was a class called, I don't know, whatever the game is called, then you would instantiate that, passing in all of the JSON as configuration. This then means it's very, very reusable. This is the different mindset here. It's the right, you've got the MVP working, this is fantastic, it works, but what happens if you say, you know, you want to change one of these colors, or you want to change one of these images? You would have to go inside the code and do that. Well, you know, it would be nicer if you were able to do that outside of the code and inject that. So all it was just changing a value in a file. Okay, so that's that. So I would, if I was you, I would put the config somewhere else. I would define what is configuration and what is actual processing code. I would put the processing code somewhere, you know, in here, and then I would put the configuration outside. Also, I would look at sort of simplifying these variables to make them a little bit more, I don't know, more perhaps abstract, because they are all equaling the same thing, the same object. Well, no, they're not the same. They're equaling a new object of the same type. So you could kind of do that slightly better. But really, you've got 560 lines of code here, so you're not doing half bad here. Okay, all right. Let's get to the top here. Scroll down a little bit more. Okay, so all right. So now we've got the event listeners. All right, so now we've got the events. So you've got the window.event listeners on all of these things. Mouse up, mouse down. Okay, so the two things that come to mind, well, the two listeners that come to mind are these two. This is because both of these are actually doing, they are actually doing the same thing, except they're doing it on different events that are triggered. Mouse up, mouse down. And they're changing is firing to true and is firing to false. So really, you could get away with creating this as a function in its own right that changes the value of is firing. To be honest, the more I look at this, the more this looks like it could actually be, I mean, this is, it's very functional. This is a very functional piece of code here, right? But you could get away with creating this as objects. So you could do this dot is firing, and this, you know, and have this as a property of the game. Same perhaps with the mouse over here. So you could have, instead of mouse.xy, what is mouse? Where does that? Yeah, this could become a property of the class. It is it's an object here, but you could create that as a sub object of the class. I mean, I would I would create these two as a function, I think, because that would probably make it a little bit more cleaner. And also maybe there is something else in the future that triggers whether or not that is firing. Because essentially what you could get away with is a function that has two parameters. The first one is the trigger, right? So mouse up, mouse down, and the second parameter is whether or not it's firing. So it would be something like, I don't know, it would be something like function I don't know, change firing mode. And then what you would do is you would have something like trigger, and then you would have mode, right? So mode would be a Boolean, and the trigger would be the string, and you would basically change whatever that is depending on the trigger and then the mode, and then you can call change firing mode with those kind of things, something like that, perhaps, possibly, I don't know. I'm just throwing untested code here. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so we got some mathematics going on here, which is awesome. We've got the generate value, generates I love the way you've commented this. This is good. Generates a random number between min and value. Awesome. Create and populate array with sequential values and index. Okay, so this looks like what it's doing here is it is getting the steps, isn't it? It's generating the steps. Range. So I would probably name that a little bit, name your functions slightly better, I think, just to explain what that range actually is. Also, there are some throw exceptions here. So have you got any try catches? Try, whoopsie, sorry, try. No. Okay, so what I would do is I would have some try catches as well. Because you're throwing exceptions, you need to catch those and maybe display something on the screen. I don't know what this does when it falls down and blows up in these things. It's great that you've done this. It's wonderful that you've thought about the try catches, but I think you need to think about what happens to the front end, when you're actually playing this game. I'm calling it a game. I'm calling it a game, and the original brief was that it was a sort of a holiday card, but because you've taken it to the next level, I'm going to call it a game. Okay, so plots the distance between two objects. This is nice. This is very abstract. This is good. I like this. So you're not actually passing in the actual object. You're passing in x1, x2, x1, y1. I would probably, I'm guessing these are x coordinates and y coordinates. I'm hoping that's the case. I think it's the case. X distance and y distance. Yeah. Okay. One thing I would suggest on the functions is I would document what it is that gets returned. So whether, is this a floating point or is this an integer, that kind of thing. Canon base. Okay, so now we're getting to the parts where we're actually we're drawing images now. Okay, so we've got image base. Okay, so image base. So let me scroll up here. Yeah, so you could get away with creating these as constants if you're doing this stuff, because these are static values in the sense of these, duck image will not be something else. It'll always be an image. All right. Okay, where was I? I was in Canon. I was in drawing it of the image. Okay. So again, this could be abstracted a little bit. This is Canon base, but what happens if there is more than one base? Maybe you want to, make that a little bit more abstract and pass in the image that you want to draw. Perhaps, possibly. I know there's only one canon, so there's only one canon, right? So there's only. But think of it from the perspective of what happens if there is more than one canon, and we'll get on to some updates, some recommendations in just a second after I've gone through this. So canon, we've got X and Y. I'm assuming these are coordinates. Then we got the width and the height. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. This width. Okay, so we are creating something here, and then we're doing an update. What does desired angle? That doesn't seem to be used. This, oh, it's down here, isn't it? So you could, if you could get away with this angle is equal to all of that, rather than assigning that, unless this is being used again, and I don't think it is. So yeah, you could get away with having that in here, right? So there's no need of having that variable set, and that variable hasn't got a scope either. Okay, so down in here we got this draw, save, translate, rotate, save, path. This is all good stuff. This is all good stuff. Although this draw, you could also get away with perhaps abstracting this out and maybe having multiple draw functions for these things and maybe extending this. One thing I would, because I'm guessing that there's this X, this Y, this width, this height, this angle. Is this used anywhere else? No, but let's take off this height, this width. No, it's not. Okay, fair enough. Okay, I would have thought it would have been used more. This X, this Y, this X. Yeah, there are a few. So cannonball and cannon. So that we're setting this. So you could, if you wanted to, and scroll down a little bit. Let's see this draw. Yeah, you've got dx, width and height, and all this stuff. So you could, if you wanted to, you could create like class hierarchy, right? So you could where everything has a base class that is consistent, that has ways of manipulating the coordinates, moving them, filling the objects, drawing the objects, that kind of thing. Having just a single draw method that other classes extend from, and then you can pass in perhaps what it is that you want to draw plus the coordinates. That would make it a little bit cleaner because you're not duplicating. In some ways you are duplicating code here. There are some differences. Sure, but for each of these image sprites, there is a small element of duplication here. So setting these things, there is differences. With this, you've got gravity here, which is awesome, and friction. Cool, awesome. All right. Shout out to Tyrannid here on the How to Code Well Discord server. Thumbs up. Explaining what this does to a dum-dum. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. I like that. Okay, and then this init. So, yeah. Is there other this inits in other places? I'm not sure. This fill. This fill. This init. There's this init here. This init is then here, so you got the explosion. Okay, so what I would consider using some sort of class hierarchy where you can overload this stuff, and I would consider having objects for each one of these things that extend from a base object, a base image, that has the ability to do movements and stuff. Okay, these are the particles. Wonderful. So cannonballs for each ball. Okay, so we could have used let in these places. That's fine. There's an unresolved variable here of ball. I don't know. I'm not sure what that's about. Okay, for particles, there's quite a few things that are unused. that my IDE is picking up. So that's something that I would look at as well. Cool, but there's a lot of mathematics going on here. Time to live, opacity. Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. I'm glad you're learning classes. That's classes in JavaScript are very challenging. Challenging. So if you've got any questions, do let us know on the Coding Help channel. Okay, so this is good. This draw. So this alive, this draw. Yeah, there is a. So I would also perhaps do this as sort of, you could even get away with doing these as on a module basis. So you could have like the Canon module, you could have the duck module, and then from the module you would do something. Let's say Canon, right? If that was a module, then you would do something like draw, and you would call it from outside of the class. And then what you could do is, once you've got all your classes configured, if you had, say, class. So if this was class A, well, let's make it better. Let's do Canon. Canon is a class. Let's do duck is a class. Let's do plain as a class, right? So if these were all classes, then you could do, and you had classes, or something like that, objects, OBJs, or images even. Then you could do a loop. You could do a images dot for each, passing in the image, right, and whatever the index perhaps. And then in a sort of a polymorphic manner, you could do image dot draw. That would draw all of the images to the page, right? Or you could do image dot what was the other one here? You had image dot init, right? So you could. I've gone and lost it. Where have I gone? Where I've hacked it? I've hacked something. Control Z. Right. So you could have image dot init, right? So they're all calling the inits together in a polymorphic manner, right? Rather than within themselves. It moves the code away from sort of a functional way, which is fine, but because you've got a mix of functional and you've got a mix of object orientation, it's probably best to pick one. Hey Slayerdarth, hope you're well. I'm going through King Melon Live's code challenge, which I will show you in a minute on the screen. Let me scroll down. We're about halfway through. So there's loads of sprites being added here, which is great. Plain sprites. Okay, so again, is colliding. That could be triple equals, sorry. Again, that could be a let. Same with these things. Now look, you've created here a list. I shouldn't say a list. You've created a line of variables, which is great. You could have done that at the top as well, which I think makes it a little bit easier to read. But it's all good. It's all good. I mean, it works, right? It's brilliant. It's fantastic. I really do like this. Not sure what's going on with the store of variables. Store variables. I'm guessing this is some sort of means of local storage. Is that right? I don't know. Okay, so you got the timers. The frames per second. This is why you were talking about frames per second. I was wondering. I was like, why are people talking about sprites and frames per second on the challenge? What's this about? Now I understand. Now I understand. Okay, so we've got the animation bit parts down here as well. No worries, Slayerdarth. That's fine. You jump in whenever you want to, whenever you can. The next challenge I'll talk about, that is a PHP XML JSON challenge. I will talk about that in just a second after I've gone through this stuff. Down here we've got some, the animation as well, and this was the request animated frame. This is the bad boy. This is what we were talking about on the coding help channel on the Discord server. Gotcha. I now understand the questions in the context that they were. Awesome. All right. So then we've got the draws here and the animate. I would be very cautious with how calling this draw when you've got draws called in the other. I can't find them now. In here, right? In the actual classes themselves. I know you can do it. I know you can get away with it. But I would just be cautious when you're calling when you've got two functions called the same thing. Because you get yourself into a bit of a tiz if you get it wrong. Trust me, I know. I've calling two things the same and having them do doing either very different things or slightly different things. You can get very confused with. So. I think these issues here are because of the triple equals that could be used. So I would check out the differences between triple equals and double equals as well. And then finally we do a draw on line 560. Okay, right. Let me have some coffee. Whoops. And I want to play with this a little bit. I want to play with this a little bit more. Because it's so cool. I'm going to refresh the page. So despite everything I've just said, it works wonderfully. It really is good. So I want to talk a little bit about potential upgrades to this, because I can see this going in very interesting directions. If you wanted to improve this, then one idea could be making this longer, so you've got more room to fire. Having things, this is a bit random, but having things drop down from. I was playing with this and I thought this is a bit like Space Invaders, right? You've got this thing that moves left and right, and you can target, and you can aim and fire, right? Imagine, if you will, if things fell down from the top. And you had to shoot them down, and some were falling down at different speeds, right? And you would get like a point or certain points depending on, which one you drop, which one you hit. So some would drop down quicker than others, right? So you would shoot the one that drops down quicker, and you could get more points like that. I mean, the sky's the limit here. You could do all sorts of stuff with that. I wonder what. See, that was fizzling out. And, I mean, I think that would be brilliant. I also want to shoot the duck. But yeah, I think if, you could make this into an actual game where you could even have leaderboards, you could have all sorts of stuff. This is fantastic. And the fact that you've done this without any frameworks, without any kind of libraries at all, it's wonderful. What did the duck do to me? Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I really do. I would, if you were to add any more images, I would probably suggest maybe looking at creating a single sprite pack, right? Which is a big sprite. I get that, but you would have you would merge all of these images together on one sprite. That means that there's only one HT access request that gets put through. At the moment, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 So if there's, let's say, for example, you created another 10 images, that would be 20 and what have you. So it would be beneficial, I think, from a performance point of view, is to create like a sprite sheet. Yeah, like Slayer Arthur said, like a sprite sheet. I can see here that you've done really well with the positioning of these things. So you can use background positioning or what have you to work out which image is required or what based on the position of the image in the sprite. Yeah, and another thing I would suggest doing is, whoopsie, I want to actually get into the thing here. When it loads up, I would love to have like something that says welcome to blah blah blah. Give it a name, and then you press the start button, and it starts. I mean, all of these things, all of these suggestions are there. We've now gone away from the code challenge itself, and we're now talking about a computer game. You are building a computer game, and I think it's wonderful. So hats off to you. Hats off to you. I will. What I've done is I've added you as a link here in the coding challenges section. I'm going to grab some more coffee.